In this video, you'll see what happened when I took a 100-mile-an-hour RC car and upgraded it with a huge fan to see if it would go faster, improving its downforce to increase cornering speed and acceleration performance. If you've seen my videos before, you'll know that we're no strangers to extreme RC cars here on the ProjectAir YouTube channel. But this car project would be very different, providing a unique set of aerodynamic and mechanical challenges to overcome, and many things that could go spectacularly wrong. Ground effect in cars is used to create downforce, which helps the tyres grip the track. The way that the bottom of a ground effect Formula 1 car is shaped, forcing air through a narrow opening, helps it to accelerate, creating a Venturi effect. This Venturi effect lowers the air pressure and creates a sort of partial vacuum, which pulls the car downwards. But what happens if you use a fan to actively suck the air out from under the car, effectively turning it into a giant vacuum cleaner? This is exactly what an F1 team called Brabham did in the 1970s with a car called the Brabham BT46B. This used a large fan connected to the engine to draw more air through the car. This not only created downforce in the corners, but also from a standing start, squashing the tyres into the track, allowing it to get away faster without wheel spinning. The car I chose to use for this experiment was an Armour Limitless, a very fast RC car capable of some eye-watering velocities. Although fast in a straight line, this car is definitely not the best at cornering, being quite heavy, which means that it has a lot of inertia, making it difficult to change direction without understeering. With fresh tyres fitted, I could time the Limitless between 2 points in a bend in this road to measure its maximum cornering speed, repeating this going faster and faster until the tyres gave up.
Oh dear, overcooked it a bit there.
Now we could see how quickly the stock car could accelerate, using an onboard GPS to time the 0 to 60 miles an hour.
3, 2, 1.
With its super powerful motor, I had to gradually increase the throttle to prevent the wheels from spinning. But to be fair, it still went very fast indeed.
2.9.
Right, these were the targets I wanted to beat after modifying the car. Could I use downforce generated by the fan to 1, go faster around that corner, and 2, beat that existing 0 to 60 time and go faster than a modern Formula 1 car? To build my version of the Brabham Formula 1 car, I firstly disassembled the entire RC Limitless, stripping it back until I was left with the chassis, ready for some rather serious modifications. The idea was to bolt a big metal ground effect floor to the underside, made from aluminium, drawing upon the design of the BT46B. I measured this up and cut it to size. This was a big flat floor that would be the roof of the sealed low pressure area under the car. Now, of course, for this to be a fan car, we'd probably be needing some sort of fan. So I asked my engineering helper Emma to cover this part of the build.
I've designed what we call the fan intake unit. So we've got 3 parts to it. We've got the propeller, we've got the housing, and then we have the intake.
This fan would be made up of some 3D printed parts, fitted with a powerful brushless motor designed for RC planes.
So we're printing the propeller with a very high infill because it's going to be under a lot of force. And we've also got a very low layer height, so we have a really nice finish on it.
We could now assemble these parts and test them out to see if the fan blades would hold up to the extremely high rotational forces. The motor we had based the design around had a very high kV rating, meaning it would spin very fast indeed. And this would be important for creating a decent pressure drop under the car.
That was really scary actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was like, I was getting proper spooked with that.
It survived though, look.
Now we knew that we had a fan that worked, I could get ready to mount it to the car.
Alright, we've got the intake printing over there on the 3D printer, so now I need to, well, I've just done it actually, cut a hole in the tray, the underfloor tray. Now there is one thing I need to do though, which is to make a guard from some mesh, and this stuff's going to protect the fan blades from sucking up a load of, stones and stuff from the road surface. So what I need to do next is to create some sort of skirt, just like on the Brabham BT46B Formula 1 car, to seal the car to the track. Now, this is important because we want to make sure that the high pressure air on the outside stays on the outside and the low pressure air on the inside of the ground effect tray stays there and stays low pressure.
The first idea I had was to make this part of the car out of foam board that would be taped and glued to the underside L brackets. This was probably not my best idea, as it might be ripped to shreds on the road surface, but I thought that this could be a temporary solution that we could learn from and improve upon later. To test the effectiveness of the skirt and fan, I 3D printed a simple instrument called a U-tube manometer, which would tell me what the differential pressure was between the air outside of the ground effect tray and the inside.
Now, to make this easy to read, you should use some food colouring or something in the water, but I haven't got any, so I'm going to use tea, obviously.
The first test at full power resulted in a rather low reading of 2 centimeters on the manometer, which equals around 1.8 kilograms of downforce. This wasn't a bad start, but I thought that maybe increasing the number of blades would help to create more of a pressure drop. Emma altered the fan design and also slightly adjusted the airfoil shape to have more undercamber. It was all a bit of guesswork, but we could see if this helped in practice. And the difference was quite astonishing. This 8-bladed redesign now created 6.4 kilograms of downforce, which was about equal to the car's weight. So the obvious next question was, why not try even more blades? Well, the 10-bladed fan was certainly creating more of a pressure drop under the car than the 8-bladed fan, topping out at 10.09 kilograms of downforce. And it certainly felt like that much weight pulling the car down when I tried to pick the car up from the table. But then I smelt something burning.
That's quite hot, and this is a few minutes later as well.
We'd found the limit with our fan blades, so I would use the 8-bladed design instead, with a fresh motor. Now this is all great, but with engineering you really can only progress so far without doing some real-world testing. Would the fan actually work on a real road? And would the foam board skirt maintain a decent seal?
So we have sucked up bits of the bits of foam. Yeah.
That didn't take long, did it?
And that's fallen off. If I go and get some sellotape, then we can take that back together.
The car did feel a bit grippier. With the fan off, the car slid around all over the place. But with the fan powered on, the car would still slide, but would come to a more abrupt stop. The best news from all of this was that the fan had survived, even after launching some small stones at Emma.
Owie.
Did you get hit?
A little bit. No, I did not.
Well, it's surviving. It's not broken yet.
The skirt clearly wasn't strong enough though, so I'd need to fix this or create a completely new solution. Firstly, I locked out the suspension of the car using cable ties to limit the travel of the shock absorbers. This was how I'd stiffened the suspension on my jet-powered car to make sure that the ride height stayed almost level at all times. Next, I cut plywood strips, which would extend the rigid sides of the floor, and these were bolted to the aluminium brackets under the car. I sealed everything up with hot glue and made sure that the gap to the ground was an even 3mm all the way round. This gap was way too big to create the same sort of partial vacuum that we'd seen earlier from the manometer tests, and the car bouncing up and down when running at high speeds would certainly ruin this ground effect entirely, so I needed to add flexible tape that would fill in the gap to the floor. I was confident that this improved skirt design would do the job nicely, but as it would turn out, I'd be in for a nasty reality check on the first high-speed corner test. Now I could finish up the car by painting up a brand new streamlined F1 style body shell, complete with ProjectAir logos and the names of my Patreons. With fresh tyres, this car was now ready for another test, but how well would it work on that bumpy corner and that straight road? As the weather was quite nice, I wanted to take a quick trip to the local river to quickly sail a small remote control ship I'd been meaning to test out.
If you're anything like me and you like RC cars and all of that sort of thing, then you might also like model boats, because they're great fun to mess around with and learn about all of the sort of, intricacies of ship design and all of that sort of thing, even with a silly toy boat just like this one. Now, if you want to learn about the history of boats like this and also play a really cool game, then you should definitely check out World of Warships, who are actually sponsoring this video with an ad.
World of Warships is a free-to-play multiplayer game where you can command over 600 ships.
This is so cool.
With great-looking graphics and interesting gameplay modes.
Oh no! Oh
The game also has special events that only come around now and again, such as the current event in which you can command legendary vessels in missions inspired by June the 6th, 1944, which was the largest naval operation the world has ever seen. Players can unlock new ships to try out, special D-Day PvE and PvP missions for new and existing players, new commemorative historical commanders, special patches, skins, and customizations. You can captain some incredible American destroyers, cruisers, and battleships that sailed the seas during early 20th century conflicts, while learning all about American naval warfare history. One of my favorite vessels in the game is the USS Phoenix, which is incidentally available for free with my link in the description. There is actually an exclusive invite code down there with a special offer that includes all sorts of cool things that you can get for free if you download it today. You can get a 7 days premium account, 200 doubloons, 1 million credits, and the choice of the USS Phoenix, Japanese cruiser Kuma, French battleship Corsair, and Italian battleship Dante Alighieri, or the HMS Wakeful. Make sure to check out the link in the description and download World of Warships today.
Right then, time for the first test. Let's see how fast this goes around the corner now we've made all of the modifications. So this will be the first test with the new skirt. No idea if it's going to work or not. Like with all of my projects, there's an element of things, you know, being left unknown to the last minute, and then you actually have to sort of go for it and see what happens.
Remember, before, with the unmodified car, the best top speed we achieved around this corner was 4.75 seconds. If the fan was effective enough to overcome the weight penalty of all of the extra gear and electronics on the car, it might go faster. But would the bumpy road ruin the ground effect? Something didn't feel quite right.
We lost the rear a bit at the end there.
A little bit.
I wonder if it's a skirt. I wonder if the skirt's just bouncing on the ground.
Listening to the car as it went past, the wooden skirt seemed to be bottoming out and releasing pressure off the tyres. The fan was also sounding a bit weird, stuttering as it went by. Maybe maximum fan power would help to smooth things out. But then, the fan suddenly failed.
Oh!
Oh my goodness, did you get that?
Yep.
Oh, what a crash. Fan's dead. Well, this isn't great.
So, what happened? Looking at the footage, I lost all of the fan power mid-corner, and the car skated off the track almost like a hovercraft. The rigid part of the skirt had definitely been bouncing along the ground, losing even more tyre grip. I realised my semi-rigid skirt design was not working at all, so I'd have to change it back to the old foam board design that seemed to be performing better, despite being a bit fragile. Back at the corner, we could try all over again with some more timed runs. Could I beat 4.75 seconds? The car was still bumping around on the rough surface, braking and then regaining the ground effect, causing it to skate erratically across the track. Unfortunately, the best time we were able to get out of the car without it crashing was just 4.97 seconds, so slower than the previous time. I think what we discovered here is one of the fundamental flaws of ground effect cars. Unlike with winged cars where the downforce is fairly consistent, these ground effect cars don't work if they're not touching the floor at the perfect ride height. We had one more test to do though, to see if the car was faster in a straight line on a much smoother piece of track. The original straight where we did our previous acceleration tests. With fresh tyres, the car was prepared for a few final runs. Now, would it perform much better, getting more grip from the tyres for a faster speed off the starting line? There was only one way to find out.
Ready when you are.
The first run showed that it had already improved, with a time of 2.49 seconds. What could it do with maximum fan power? .28 seconds. We tried again but went slightly slower this time, doing 2.38 seconds, which was still extremely quick. So the ground effect was definitely doing something, overcoming the weight penalty and allowing these tyres to bite with more grip.
We did it, we got 2.2 seconds, which is way faster than a current Formula One car. It's just very impressive. I'm very surprised that it could do that, especially seeing as though it could not do that before we put the ground effect on it. So yeah, this fan has clearly helped with the 0 to 60. High five!
We'd built one of the fastest ground effect RC cars in the world, with a ridiculous 0 to 60 time. In doing this, we'd actually mirrored the development of real ground effect cars, from developing functional skirts, to measuring downforce levels, to pushing it all the way to the absolute limit. Well, that was very much more challenging than I thought it was going to be. I'm not sure if you've watched my previous videos, but if you've seen my previous fan car that was a lot smaller and simpler than this one, it worked way better on a smooth surface. And yes, this one, being on an actual road surface, it made the whole thing way harder. A big thank you to Armour for sending me this car, and a big thank you to you for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to the ProjectAir YouTube channel if you do enjoy my videos. Check out this video next if you've got to this point in this video. I'm sure you'll enjoy that one. And yes, I'll see you in about a month's time for the next ProjectAir YouTube video. Right, I'm gonna mess around with this a bit more and just drive it for fun. See you later.